Audio is hovering at minus 12 decibels. We're go.
If you became president, you would be the youngest president in history. Is there a way in which you're out of touch with your own generation? No.
Hey, Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa. I want an Oompa Loompa now.
No, but it is certainly the case that often
I want an everlasting gobstopper.
younger candidates tend to attract more support from older voters. But we are building a coalition.
Hey, she's got two. I want another one.
A coalition that's going to draw voters from every part of this country.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose.
Look, there's going to be a continued process to earn support across the coalition.
I want it now.
She was a bad egg.
Look, where's she gone?
Where all the other bad eggs go, down the garbage chute. There's going to be a lot of garbage today.
Drop it. All right, look at this power panel. Jake Buer, John Aida. John Fugelsang's back, everybody. All right. Great to have John with us. By the way, you got to check out.
Thank you. You know, I don't always get a lot of acknowledgement, but I do appreciate it.
That's true.
When it happens.
For good reason. For good reason. All right. Tell me everything every night on SiriusXM Progress Channel. That's where you're going to find John.
That's me.
Okay. And by the way, Pete Townsend was his first guest. That's pretty badass.
Yeah. We just moved over from the Insight Channel to the big liberal Progress Channel. We're doing nights, and we've already had Robbie Robertson and Judd Apatow came down. We just had Jennifer Beals and Kathleen Turner. So we're mixing the celebrities with the comedians with the politicians. Bernie's done it twice, and we're working our way through, trying to get you on. Trying to get you on, John.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, John.
He was just being polite, okay? Give me polite.
But I got to be in LA for Christmas with my kid, and luckily enough, you had an empty table, so it's nice to slide on in.
It's awesome to have you, John. And those are a hell of a guest. Everybody check it out, okay? So, John, we got a lot of show, other John. So obviously we got some Trump stuff, some campaign stuff, as it seems like every single night. But the media critique is fortunately or unfortunately the one that has got me most riled up. That's coming up in just a little bit. Aida Rodriguez is also on later in the program, so it's gonna be great. All right, so John, let's get started.
Yes, so we do have a lot to look forward to. We're gonna start off with some dark stuff though. Let's launch right into it.
Did he say anything when he did this, or did he just literally pull out a knife and just start stabbing him?
He just pulled out a knife and started stabbing him.
So what you're seeing there is a Navy SEAL who's being interviewed by Navy investigators about the experience of being abroad and serving with Edward Gallagher, a former SEAL who has made a big name for himself, especially in right-wing circles this year, after he was accused of multiple war crimes and then found himself a celebrity for Pete Hegseth and Fox and Friends, and eventually Donald Trump as well. He has since been acquitted of most of the crimes, but there are still big concerns. And these tapes coming out now, some of the quotes from these SEALs are just amazing. Let's run through a few. First of all, in case you're not familiar with Chief Gallagher, platoon members say that they had seen him shooting civilians and fatally stabbing a wounded captive with a hunting knife. 3 SEALs said that they saw him go to a sedated captive for no reason, stab him to death, and then hold an impromptu re-enlistment ceremony over the body as if it were a trophy. And so in general terms, what is this person like according to the men that have served with him? Well, one said, asked whether the chief had a bias against Middle Eastern people, Special Operator Scott replied, "I think he just wants to kill anybody he can." Another special operator said, "The guy is freaking evil." A third said, "The guy was toxic." And a fourth said, "You could tell he was perfectly okay with killing anybody that was moving."
Okay.
And so this person, you might have seen if you were invited to the Mar-a-Lago Trump Christmas party, he was partying it up there with the president.
So I want to remind everybody, including the president, that all the people that you just heard from are on SEAL Team 7 Alpha Platoon. So when you go after them, which they invariably will, and Gallagher already has, understand that they're going after SEAL Team 7, every other member. And so they like to hide behind the troops at every turn. Oh, here I had to give a giant amount of money to the Pentagon, support the troops. No, you don't. Your troops incoming guys make about $19,000 a year, okay? I support Eddie Gallagher because he kills random Muslims. But hey, I support the troops. No, you don't. You don't support the rest of SEAL Team 7 who say that Gallagher is evil and will kill anything in his path, civilian or otherwise. One of the folks he's accused of killing was a 12-year-old. And it is other SEAL Team 7 members saying, watch out, this guy is a huge problem. So now they will attack the military again, and they'll attack the other people who are. Why would all of them lie together? That doesn't make any sense at all. But they'll hide behind false patriotism and false support of the troops to support monstrous people like Gallagher. So
I agree with you both. I mean, look, anyone trying to raise a child right now in this era when the human id is encouraged to run free and do whatever it wants is facing a real obstacle. How do I tell my kid, don't be a racist, respect women, don't lie, do your homework, don't mock disabled people, and then watch this. This should be a slam dunk when you're debating with your conservative Christian loved ones over the holidays. You don't get to call yourself a Christian and play dumb about this. This guy was a serial killer who was in the military so he could do it for legal ways. And the most damning thing about it is, as you pointed out, how rare is it for SEAL team members to actually come out publicly and talk about what they do? When professional killers say that someone's killing too much, we should lean in and listen. They could have impeached this guy 1 minute into his inaugural address for violating the emoluments clauses. Now you can throw war crimes on top of it. It's an impeachable offense, and it's an insult to every serviceman and woman and every man and woman who manages every day to contain themselves and not murder people. When Muslims don't trust us, it's because of stuff like this.
And look, guys, it isn't about, I know right-wingers hate Muslims, so anytime we talk about valuing the life of a Muslim, they just turn off and think, no wonder, these guys are soft. Why don't we just murder them, right? But it isn't about them. Yes, it's important, and obviously we should care about that, etc. But it's about us. It's about who are we? Are we a country of laws? Do we have a military that is decent and that follows international law, doesn't commit war crimes? Or if you say, no, we shouldn't, we should just let them go and let there be no order in the military at all, basically some degree of chaos, and let them murder whoever they like, whether they're combatants, civilians, 12 years old or not. Okay, then you are arguing that America should be the bad guys.
Yep.
I mean, that's what the Nazis did. That's what Al Qaeda does. That's what ISIS does. Chop off their heads. Who cares? Who cares about international law? Who cares about morality and decency? Let's just kill them all. Well, okay, then maybe you should go and join one of those groups instead of the United States military, which is supposed to have honor. And all of those guys did have honor, with one notable exception, the guy that Donald Trump enthusiastically backed.
And if you want to kill Muslims because you're a Christian, stop calling yourself a Christian. You are not. You are using that cloaking device for your own evil. And people are tired of it, especially around this time of the year. This country hasn't legally declared war since 1941. These weren't even legal prisoners of war. The whole thing is sketchy as hell. And this is the tipping point. This should be the tipping point for anyone who still believes a guy who stole from vets with a scam online university cares about vets.
Yeah. And so I believe you alluded to that they don't often come out and talk about this, SEALs. They don't often reveal. Exactly, and we can't say for sure exactly why they have, but we do know one reason is in these interviews they alluded to the fact that they believed that he had been purposefully exposing them to enemy fire to draw out enemy soldiers that he could shoot at. And they started to believe among themselves that he wouldn't mind if a few of them had been killed because it might make him seem more distinguished.
He wanted a silver star.
Yeah.
And that's why he wanted to have such a high body count.
Yeah. Yeah, and so if you justify, well, he can kill as many Muslims as he wants, I don't care, they're trying to kill our soldiers. His soldiers believe that he was trying to get them killed. So you should oppose him for all the same reasons.
By the way, what has Gallagher done now? He has called all the rest of the people in SEAL Team 7 Alpha Platoon cowards. Of course. No, you're the only brave one. The only brave one who kills people after they're already captured.
Kills children.
Yeah. Right, kills children, kills the wounded, kills old men. You're the brave one, right? And everyone else on SEAL Team 7 is cowards. Do any of you believe that? If you do, there's something deeply wrong with you. You should get psychological counseling. You should not be allowed to have a weapon, and you're a danger to yourself and others. If you think the guy that every other military person is saying is a murderer and a danger to everyone and is committed war crimes, they're all wrong and cowards, but the one murderer guy's awesome. If you believe that, you're either named Donald Trump or you're a Trump acolyte and you like people who kill civilians. You like people who kill 12-year-olds, and that's who you are.
And the amazing thing too is, I mean, he had been accused of multiple war crimes and he eventually got off of them, except for posing with the body, because we have the photo, you can see it. And so, but he claims that he didn't execute the person, even though multiple people says he did. Still sort of weird that you would then take the body and pose with it. Also, one additional fact, I talked about this on the damage report this morning. He had earlier on Instagram, I believe this was before going off to war, he had a knife made, he had a special knife made, and he posted about how he couldn't wait to dig it in someone's skull. And so when you're accused of having gone up to execute someone with a knife, it makes it a little bit more believable at that point, especially added on to the multiple eyewitnesses to say you did it.
I love Young Turks followers, and I know a lot of Young Turks followers are, of course, atheists and non-believers, but this is why you need to remember your old Bible studies more than ever, because we have to stop these people from using the cloak of Christianity. That is their get out of hell free card in the media. The media plays along, it never questions it. No, anyone supporting this has to be called out. They don't get to drape themselves in baby Jesus anymore. They have rejected it. These guys voted for Caligula, Barabbas, and the golden calf. They got to be called out. This is literally war crimes and murder.
And last thing, guys. So speaking of not allowing people to hide behind things like Christianity, they don't get to hide behind military supporting the troops when they say they're defending Eddie Gallagher, because that means you're saying the rest of SEAL Team 7 were cowards and liars. Or is that what you're saying? Because let's be very clear about this, because that's what Gallagher is saying. Trump, by supporting him wholeheartedly, that's what he's saying. Look, I've got people I know that are family members that voted for Trump. So I'm not saying everyone who voted for Trump in 2016 is a terrible person. Obviously not, right? But they, some of them say they didn't know. Some of them still want to bury their head in the sand. Some of them want to bury their head in Fox News. Okay, but if you know, and you're with the war criminal rather than the rest of SEAL Team 7, then you don't believe in the United States military and you don't believe in our form of government. So please get out of the country, go move to Saudi Arabia or some other theocracy where they murder people wantonly. You'll really enjoy it, but this country's not for you.
And one other thing we should mention, though, is that the issue with this is not just that right-wingers were so quick to defend him despite all the evidence. They don't care about what any of the people who served them said. It's not just that Trump tweeted in support of him. It's not even just that he's inviting him to his Christmas party, which is just, it's sick on a whole new level. It's that this guy is gonna be everywhere next year on the campaign trail with Trump and with other Republicans. He's just waiting to run for some office for himself. And what's so amazing about it is that if you were to ask these right wingers who suddenly believe that he's this huge hero, they wouldn't be able to tell you anything about his military record except the war crimes that he has been accused of. They don't mind that he's been accused of killing children and the elderly and prisoners of war. And that's why they know who he is. That's why they care about him.
This endangers the safety of our troops. There is no reason for any Muslims to believe Americans anymore when they see that you can literally murder us, go through the charade of military justice, and then have this reality show racist clown give you a pass.
Yeah, exactly. You want to take our first break?
Good times.
Yeah. All right. Yes, we're gonna take a break. And if you thought that story made me angry, wait till we get a load of the next story. So fun for everybody. The mainstream media realizes the Trump people might not be telling the truth. I'm not kidding. It's like, man, they actually just realized that. It's stunning. All right, we'll do that when we return. We got good news for you. We're hiring a journalist to cover climate change and money in politics' effect on it in specific. So we're almost there. We just need to get to $200,000. If we can do that by the end of the year, that would be amazing. TYT.com/climate. I love this because every time there's a vote, we're gonna see who donated to which politicians, how are they voting, and we're gonna hold them accountable. And we're gonna get it to the rest of the press, and we're gonna get it all over social media. Because it isn't that not enough people agree with us. 3/4 of the country believes climate change is real and we have to do something about it. The problem is the politicians that take money from fossil fuel companies. And that's what we're gonna expose with your help. So TYT.com/climate for that.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
Patience. It's a virtue. They think you can put me in a box. But you can't stifle a revolution. Cenk Uygur, you started something, an idea. The truth and honesty matter above all else. And the people love you for it. And for a while, so did I. We could have stood united, a political force of reckoning upon our foes, the hypocrites, the phonies, the unjust. But you put me in this box.
Jake! No!
You began without me. You began without me. But God as my witness, I will be the one to finish it.
It's winter, and it's cold this time of year, isn't it? Well, it might feel chilly, and the wind might bite at your nose. Maybe you want to snuggle up with a hot chocolate, or wrap up warm and wear your biggest coat. But in the grand scheme of things, our earth is too hot, and it's getting even hotter. Our seasons are getting confused. Lots of birds are nesting earlier, and spring flowers are coming out too soon. This is what climate change looks like. It's affecting so many of the things we love, both here in our own backyards and around the world. But we have hope, because we know that together we can protect them if we act now and everyone does their bit. So this Christmas, give a gift of love and show the world you care.
The Monsanto Corporation continues to sell a herbicide called Roundup, but you should know that that herbicide is a potential killer. Recent studies have linked Roundup to significant increases in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's a cancer that can be devastating to you and the people you love. While Roundup continues to cause cancer, Monsanto continues to make huge profits from the sale of Roundup. They will not take it off the market. If you or a loved one are exposed to Roundup at work or home and then developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you may be entitled to financial compensation. And it's important for you to take action now and hold Monsanto accountable.
All right, back in the Young Turks. First member comments. Anna for Dem White House press secretary writes in. Fugelsang, I will be as happy as a clam at high tide if you imitate Chris Matthews at any point during this panel today. Huh? Well, there you go.
I would, but that would involve these two not speaking for the rest of the broadcast.
All right.
I love Chris.
Change my Borg destination writes in. Designation, I should say. Trump needs corrupt support from, this is a really interesting point. Trump needs corrupt support from the military. His support of Gallagher is a call to any and all corrupt military individuals to come to his network.
Yep.
He is slowly and methodically building his network of extensive government corruption. Look, I saw it happen in Turkey with Erdogan. That is exactly right. So what strongmen do is they say, I want the people who are not going to follow the law. The opposite. They say, oh, I'm for rule of law. And then they say, no, I want people loyal to me and me only, not to the Constitution, not to the government, not to the laws. Yes. Because I need people with guns in positions of power who will follow me no matter what I do.
He told ICE agents he would bail them out if they broke the law, handling migrants. He told cops they should be rougher with people and not protect their heads when they shove them into cars. He told the people at his rallies he would pay their legal costs if they physically assaulted someone else. This is Brown Shirts 101.
100% right. And so great point. That's why I love doing the show with you guys. Clint McClock on Twitter is keeping us honest too. He said, hey, this is an important story. Has anyone read the article? The SEALs didn't come out and speak about this. The audio was leaked to the New York Times. I'm mad too, but we still have responsibility for the facts here.
Absolutely.
I thought
yes, I don't mean that they came and talked specifically to the New York Times. Right. I mean that they were willing to talk about the experience in detail at all. Exactly.
Yeah, look, we said publicly at one point, and so I was thinking about coming back and clarifying. We did not say that they spoke to the New York Times. But thank you for being vigilant about it, right?
Yes.
So for everyone, so you know,
it was naval investigators.
They spoke on camera to those investigators. They all did it. All of them said similar things, which we just reported to you guys. Those tapes are leaked to the New York Times, and that's why it's in the news today. Okay, thank you, Clint. Okay, the Mad Lib writes in, Gallagher is a real life Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. This is hero of the right wing. These are people we're supposed to compromise with. Joe Biden would say yes. I say no. And then finally, it's the Constitution, stupid, writes in. Thank you for having John Fugelsang on TYT. My greatest pleasure / pastime on Twitter is watching him destroy deluded Christians who don't know their Bible. I try to warn them, but they never listen.
You got to thump the Bible thumpers with the Bible. You know, the best Christians I know are atheists, and some of the most godless heathens I know are believers. So, I mean, I'm just, because of who my parents were, and my parents were social justice Catholics. My dad was a brother, my mother was a sister, and I just got to a point where I got tired of seeing this figure of Jesus, who is the greatest progressive of all time in history or literature, whatever you believe, and having it used to justify the most unchristian things. The best thing you can do with your Trump-loving relatives is ask them, cite one teaching of Jesus that Trump campaigned on or has fought for legislatively. Just one. Not abortion. Jesus never mentioned it. Bible's not against abortion. Jesus was against the death penalty, but they began losing Jesus around that point. Try it out yourself. I think that the media has to get in on this. If Mike Pence is going to stand there and say, I get to discriminate against gay people because of my faith, we should have to be able to say, where in your holy book does Jesus tell you to do that? Because he doesn't.
Yeah, of course, the press will run for the hills. They cower from the right wing in every respect, including religion. Oh my God, I wouldn't want to offend people who completely and utterly hijacked the religion.
Oh, the William Morris agency runs away from it too.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, before we jump back in the news though, I should let you know that if you are watching this show, there's a good chance you have the right values, but it's also possible that out there right now, your money is serving the exact opposite of those. You should have your values and your money be working together. Don't let your money be funding things like oil rigs and pipelines and things like that. You can earn cash back and get free ATM use at aspiration.com/TYT. Sign up for an Aspiration account, make your money and your values work together. Oh, and by the way, also for a limited time, we'll give you 30 days of free TYT membership when you sign up. Also, this weekend, if you're looking for something fun to watch on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC, a big friend of the show, Francesca Fiorentini, has her special Red, White, and Who. It is awesome that MSNBC gave Francesca this special, and it would be even more awesome if they got a great reaction to it. Both in terms of watching it, also tweet at them about how much you enjoyed it. You can expect an appearance by Bernie Sanders. Should be a lot of fun. So definitely check that out. Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It looks like it's gonna be great.
It's great to see her on camera.
Exactly. Okay, why don't we jump into this next story and see if Cenk blows a gasket. So, Chuck Todd recently had an interview with Rolling Stone where they got into alternative facts and fake news and all of that. And Chuck Todd said something that a lot of people had a problem with. We're gonna get to that in just 1 second. But what was the sort of impetus for this? It was a special that they're going to do on truth and lies. And the reason Chuck Todd says that he and his show, or they have to address this, is because for good or bad, our show has been at the forefront of this topic of disinformation. The first Sunday of the Trump administration is when the phrase alternative facts was debuted. It was on Meet the Press that Rudy Giuliani used the phrase truth isn't truth. So look, whether we like it or not, our platform has been used, or they've attempted to use our platform to essentially disseminate, or to sort of what I would say is to lay the groundwork for this. He says, my fear is the next news consumers. How will they know truth from fiction? How will they have the tools to discern from this? So, okay, all of that sounds maybe okay so far. But there is a question and answer that a lot of people did have a problem with. They ask him, let me bring you back a little bit. Were you surprised by the consistency that the Trump administration was willing to spread disinformation with Sean Spicer's initial press briefing when he lied about the crowd size at the inauguration? Were you surprised that the president and other administration officials and their allies just kept it going? And Chuck Todd responds, I fully admit, listening to you ask that question now and me giving you the honest answer of, yeah, I guess I really believe they wouldn't do this. Just so absurdly naive in hindsight. Donald Trump's entire life has been spent using misinformation. His entire life, I've spent years studying him now on trying to figure out, how did this guy even learn politics? Where did he learn? And we'll have more on that, but that's sort of the money part.
Yeah, there's actually things that I think are slightly worse, but I'm trying to understand them, and I've been trying to be as understanding as I can. But really, it occurs to you 3 years into the Trump administration that maybe they're not leveling with you. Really, really. I mean, so what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Like, look, I've given Chuck Todd credit from time to time when he challenges a guest. At other times, I've been tough on him because he hasn't challenged guests. It depends. It's credit where credit is due, and lack of credit where it's due. But in this case, so do you not understand politics at all? That's because that's the best case scenario. Otherwise, you're a patsy. So 3 years in the Trump administration. So look, I'll give you another example. Later in the interview, he's talking about Ted Cruz. And he thought that Ted Cruz was gonna come on and disagree with Donald Trump on the issue of Ukraine because Ted Cruz is a Russia hawk. And he said, I was stunned. And he said, I really naively thought maybe he wants to remind people that with Russia and blaming Ukraine, this is getting ridiculous. You thought Ted Cruz was going to say Donald Trump is being ridiculous and that he was wrong on Russia and Ukraine? That just happened. That interview was like a week ago or something, right? How could you possibly think that? But they do, they're like little children. I'm trying not to be demeaning, but I bet Ted Cruz is going to do the right thing. You thought Ted Cruz was going to do the right thing?
Are you going to be really this easy on them? You're being this easy on them? You're letting them off the hook for this children's stuff. Their job is not to tell the truth. Their job's not to report the truth. Their job is to win ratings. This is ratings-based news. And if you offend somebody in the wrong state and it costs you half a point, that is how you lose your job and go to live on whoever the last guy was island. I mean, if you can say prevarication, if you can say falsehood, if you can say demonstrably false, if you can say fabrication, you can say lie. They don't want to say lie because they're afraid of alienating viewers. And so that is why they're going to play dumb about this and do all these false equivalencies as far as they possibly can, because it is not their job to call a spade a spade. It is their job to get the widest possible audience they can get, and that means not offending anybody with actual facts.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're ever going to have an affair, it's wrong to have an affair, but try it with Chuck Todd's wife, because Chuck doesn't ask follow-up questions. Trust me.
Oh, okay. See, I wouldn't have gone there.
I didn't.
You really shouldn't do that with Chuck Todd's wife. Don't.
And the thing that frustrates me the most is they clearly, like CNN and MSNBC, different strategies sort of, but they're both clearly like, if we just do X, then the conservatives will watch us and they'll trust us once again. And
Barack Obama thought that.
Exactly, and they've pursued this strategy for years, which is why over the past few years, so many Fox viewers have switched over to watching CNN and MSNBC. Oh wait, that hasn't happened at all. They hate you even more. They think you're the enemy of the people. A lot of people in America would not be that bothered if a terrorist attacked one of these offices. That's how much
actually a
they've been
terrorist
attacked.
did. Caesar Sang
Sent pipe bombs. And how much did that bother? Was there any backing off of the enemy of the people talk?
Did it garner any sympathy from any Trump supporters? No, not at all. They went right back to chanting about any of the enemy of the people. Look, I got two more layers of harshness here. So you say I'm not harsh enough, hold my beer.
Okay.
Okay, so later in the interview, Chuck Todd says, look, the Iraq war in the aftermath discredited enough politicians and enough media. Did it?
What?
No, it didn't. It didn't discredit any of them. So afterwards, John Kerry, who voted for the Iraq war, became the Democratic nominee in 2004. And then Hillary Clinton, who voted for the Iraq war, became the nominee in 2016. I mean, they all lost and they all suck and they were rejected by the American people. Oh no, Hillary Clinton won. Is she president? For God's sake, is she president? No, you keep being establishment people who were for the Iraq war, who paid no price at all for being constantly wrong. And who's leading right now in the national polls? Joe Biden, who voted for the Iraq war. What price did they pay for being so wrong? And the media, are you kidding me? Anyone who was right about the Iraq war was ostracized because it was so embarrassing to look at people who were right and who told you were wrong. Everyone on TV was wrong. Everyone on TV was wrong, and not one of them lost their job. But if you're a progressive who called them out, you're all gone. You're all gone.
Because again, their job is to win the ratings, and war is ratings crack. Donald Trump represents 4 straight years of war-sized ratings for them, which is why some of the people who write the checks for some of these media outlets don't really want to give away their ratings or their newspaper circulation or their lovely tax cut. It's not a matter of the journalists rising up to beat the Trump supporters. You've got to let the truth beat lies. That's why you're here. That's why you went to journalism school. If you wish to be remembered, you already know, Chuck Todd, how history is going to consign Donald Trump to the trash heap of mediocre fascists. Get on the right side of the curve before it's too late. But again, it's not their job. These are guys who watched Star Wars, watched Empire Strikes Back, and halfway through Return of the Jedi said, oh wait, Darth Vader's not the hero, is he? Come on.
Yeah, so let me continue on the Iraq war because Chuck Todd continues. He says, it turned out that the previous generation of national reporters missed the story in the moment. I'm not saying they were dishonest in the moment. They were too trusting of their sources. They maybe were too naive. I don't think it was active disinformation. See, you don't understand anything. You're telling me Dick Cheney was not doing active disinformation? And you're saying that with a straight face in the year 2019. That Dick Cheney was not lying about weapons of mass destruction. Forget that, about the connection to 9/11. Iraq had no connection to 9/11. You allowed Dick Cheney on Meet the Press, your organization did, and have him do those bold-faced lies and lied us into war. And what, did anybody get punished? Are you kidding me? Tom Brokaw goes around on a cloud at NBC and everybody has to go kiss his ass while the cloud goes by. Tom Brokaw's not run out of town, you idiot. You got duped by Don Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney and you aided and abetted those lies? No. Brian Williams, you name it, it doesn't matter. You all did it. You all did it.
Brian Williams is the only person to lie about the Iraq war to get a demotion in America.
Yeah, and that's not because he said the Iraq war was a bad idea. That would have been correct, right? No, they said, oh, well, he fudged about being on a helicopter or whatever, right? Look, and it isn't about any one particular person. I've met Brian Williams. He's a very nice guy. It isn't personal. I know they'll look at this and think we hate them and it's personal. No, it's that you're not good at your job. You actively lie to the American people. So here comes the great irony. So Trump, when he says enemy of the people regarding the press, that is dangerous talk, okay? And I believe in journalism. And we here at Young Turks, we're trying to protect journalism and rebuild it. So did anybody get Iraq right? Absolutely. McClatchy newspapers did a fantastic job on Iraq. Print journalists studied the sources, questioned their sources, and got the story right. Amy Goodman was right. There were other people who were right, okay? So it's not like you couldn't see it. And honestly, we were like podunk, nothing talk show hosts at the time on Sirius satellite radio with almost no audience, and we saw it. Jesus Christ, if we could see it, and Brokaw and Brian Williams and Chuck Todd, you all couldn't see it with the billions of dollars you had. No, you didn't want to see it. And not just back then, today, now you turn around and go, it turns out Ted Cruz might be a liar. Are you kidding me? And as you're saying that, you're even saying like, the previous generations, look, I don't think it was active disinformation. Ted Cruz might have said one thing wrong on my show, but are you trying to say Dick Cheney might have been doing active disinformation? No. And you guys, you schmucks. The right wing is never gonna like you. The whole point of the right wing is to tear down every source of information we have. Professors, well, they bring you information. They're terrible. Don't believe media. They bring you information. Don't believe them. Scientists. They bring you information. Don't believe them. Why? Because they want to replace it with propaganda. So it is not an attempt to make you better. It's an attempt to destroy you. Progressives, on the other hand, believe in journalism. And what do? You spit in our face because we're right. It drives you nuts. We were right about everything. The Iraq war. The Republicans only do tax cuts for the rich. They never care about the budget. I can give you 1,000 things that we were 100% right on.
2016.
Okay, and climate change. And you're lying about Medicare for all as we speak. As we speak, you're lying about it. So the reality is, you're not the enemy of the people, but are you fundamentally opposed to progressives? Yes. Are you fundamentally opposed to doing factual correctness? Actually, the answer is, and this is super depressing, yes. You're in favor of political correctness. Hey, I don't want to lose my Republican viewers. I don't want to lose access to my Republican politicians. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm going to take the truth and pervert it so that it's 50-50. I'm going to equate the liars with the people telling the truth. And in fact, the people telling the truth about Iraq war, et cetera, I'm not going to allow them on TV. I'm not gonna allow them on TV, but Ted Cruz and Dick Cheney and all those monsters and Kellyanne Conway and Rudy Giuliani, they'll be littered all over TV. And the only Democrats that'll be allowed are people that believe in the Pentagon and the Brennans and the Claire McCaskills, the ones who go, the Republicans are right, tax cuts for the rich are great. Us doing these aggressive wars are great. Look, if you think you're doing journalism, you're not even close. You're not even close. I know that you're gonna hate us way more than you hate the right wing, because the thing that gets under your skin the most is when someone is right about you. It's easy to brush off Donald Trump. The guy's a clown. He lies every day, 7,000 times a day. It's easy to brush him off. It's easy to even go, oh, Ted Cruz, maybe, oh, wow. After 7,000 lies in a row, maybe I brush him up a little bit. I'm sorry, Ted. Come back on the show, Ted, please, I'm sorry.
And it will have been forgotten by the next time he's on.
Yes, that's 100%. They're gonna learn nothing from this. But when we're right, God, it drives them crazy. God, that's the thing they can't stand the most.
The only thing worse than hindsight needing 15 years to still get it mostly wrong is with Ted Cruz, the next time he's on, they're gonna pretend that he's an honest gentleman from wherever, from Texas. And the next war, they're going to buy whatever is told to them. And honestly, if the whistleblower hadn't blown the whistle, and if Zelensky had his interview with Fareed Zakaria, they would be covering that totally serious and straight face too. This isn't even like at this late hour, I finally understand. I'm saying I understand, and then I'm gonna go right back to doing the thing that I do.
And last thing, guys. So whether it's Jake Tapper telling Mehdi Hasan, we never have progressives on. So let me ask you a question about progressives. Jake, did you ever think, wait, why do we never have progressives on? Hey, wait, it looks like Bernie Sanders might win the presidency. I know you guys don't believe that because you hate him. And you say, oh, Bernie Sanders. He's leading in New Hampshire, almost caught him in Iowa. And he's second in Nevada, second in national polling, has been through. Bernie Sanders, no one I know in the country club thinks he's gonna win. And you don't think you're biased. You don't, it never even occurred to you that he might win. And if he does, and if it does occur to you, it comes to you in a night sweat and with dread. And you don't think, hey, maybe I'm biased. No. God forbid, I wouldn't want to ruin your pretty little dreams about who you are and how sacrosanct you are. But so Jake Tapper, did it not occur to you that at least, at the very, very least, he represents a quarter of the country? I think he represents 60%. I can show you the polling to back that up, but we can have that debate later. Okay, let's say 25%, let's take your number. So 25% of the country, you don't care about them. The Republicans, but hey, 25% of the country, we never have you sons of bitches on. Oh, okay, here, what do you got? Say one thing and then get the hell off my show, right? And then Washington Post, you did that brilliant story, Washington Post, about the Pentagon and how they've lied for every year of the Afghan war. Did you learn anything from it? My prediction is no. No, you'll then turn around and the next time the Pentagon says something, you'll kiss their ass and you will write it down as a fact, even though you know as an institution that they lie almost as much as Donald Trump does. They lie on purpose as a matter of strategy. You're the ones who exposed that. And I give you credit for that wonderful reporting. But you have instant collective amnesia. Ted Cruz will be invited back on. The Pentagon will be believed in the next story. David Axelrod said, none of us think that Bernie Sanders can win. But I don't know, it just occurred to me that maybe, how come you live in a world that no progressive is ever allowed in, the truth is not allowed in, and then you get all hurt when someone points it out aggressively. But when the Republicans punch you in the face, you're like, yes, sir, thank you, sir, may I have another, but not progressives. You don't have enough power. So I will spit on you, progressives, and never allow you on. You see how unbiased I am? All right, I think you get my point of view.
Okay, we should probably take our break.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Jen, who you think is gonna win?
Okay, this is the cliched part where I go, we're gonna win, we're the best, okay? We're the reigning champions, we got the belt, we got the trophy. But I think that Jesus and JR are actually a formidable team. I'm a little worried about running into them in the first round. I mean, that's got championship fight written all over it.
How you end up in the same team?
Because they're pretty obvious. Brown and black.
And also, they wanted someone else to win this year, so it's the easiest choice.
And these Jacori and Arthur fellas, I mean, they got a little bit of a Vulcan mind melt.
That's a great suit. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
Not worried about Brooke and John.
Do a serious one, too.
Sorry, we're just trying to intimidate our foes.
Who are your foes?
Right now, Jacori and Arthur. I like them, they're nice guys. But I must break them. And I think that they technically have a hive mind. They know each other better than I will ever know my wife.
Who do I think is gonna win? I don't know, man. I don't feel as confident as I should. I think that Jake and I know each other better than all the other people, so even if we do win, it's not that impressive. Like, we've worked together for so long. But I think that this time around, John and Brooke might have a good shot, so we'll see.
Are you gonna win or lose?
Yeah, we show up to lose. You play to win the game.
I'll just say it's been taken care of.
My real answer is, of course, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I think the other two teams can win. The only thing I'm sure about is it ain't gonna be Brooke and John.
Guys, what do you say about that no one believes that you can ever win?
I'm one of those people.
Haters never prosper, okay? Tell me you didn't watch last year for us.
We have a bold announcement
to make.
Did we
not entertain?
We're pulling out of this thing. You know, we had a good run, but
we would never, okay?
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for them to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse us and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It's not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
The Monsanto Corporation continues to sell an herbicide called Roundup. You should know that recent studies have linked this commercial herbicide to a significant increase in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. A diagnosis of this type of cancer can be devastating to you and your family, while Monsanto continues to profit from these sales. If you or a loved one were exposed to Roundup at work or at home and then developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you might be entitled to financial compensation, and you have a right to take action now.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Sandra O writes in the member section, Cenk sandwich between two awesome Johns. Who could ask for more?
We got more Johns and a Portuguese cat house in here.
Oh, wow. All right, I am a damn lib writes in, Cenk proved that progressive honest newsmen could be popular and he got canned. Just saying your rationale holds no beer. And real quick, just a quick clarification. So on MSNBC, they did move me from prime time to the weekends, or they wanted to. Technically, I was not fired. I'm the one who said no to that offer. But your whole point holds. I had the highest ratings they ever had at 6 o'clock at that point. And I asked the head of MSNBC, is it the ratings? Well, he's like, obviously it's not the ratings because it's the highest it's ever been. Is it that I'm a person who's hard to work with? And there were some folks like that at the time there, right? And they're like, nope, you're perfectly pleasant inside the building, right? You yell a little bit on air, but you're pleasant to folks internally. So what is it? Why move me down to the weekends? Well, the answer is because they don't want progressives in prime time. Because God forbid we should talk about net neutrality. Comcast just bought them, right? God forbid we should talk about monopolies and maybe how mergers shouldn't be approved. Or the advertisers. I once made the mistake of talking about one of their advertisers. So that's how that game is played. It's not just ratings. No, you have to suck up the power. If you don't, you're out. And last thing, Gabby Marita says, Chuck Todd's not a dumb person, but he's paid a lot of money to play one on TV. So the thing that drives those folks the craziest is when you say, did you ever think why you were picked? You know, John was saying this during the break. Was Howard Zinn ever picked? Was Noam Chomsky ever picked?
Whenever there's a war, it's all retired generals, not Gore Vidals and Howard Zinns, to talk about other alternatives.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be those particular people. There's 330 million people in the country. You could pick, and at a bare minimum, 25% of them are progressives. Yep. If you wanted progressive anchors, you could easily find them. If you want anchors who seek access to power and service power, you can, and you have found them. Yep. All right. What's next?
Well, before we launch into what's next, the time has finally come. As of tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, Hostmates Season 2 is here. Take a look at that lineup. It's gonna be awesome. You got Brett hosting, Emma was here for the green room, and 4 teams duking it out. Which pair knows each other best? We're actually gonna be live tweeting this just a little bit later on. You can watch it live as it's streaming for the first time today. If you haven't already seen Hostmates Season 1, maybe you can cram it in, but do it while you're also watching this somehow. And if you're not already a member, it's gonna be hard to watch it. So fix that by going to tyt.com/, I'm gonna say John, and signing up for memberships that you can watch Hostmates right after the second hour.
Yeah, you can get membership through tyt.com/John. John's doing a great job. Damage Report's wonderful.
Yes,
Support him by getting membership through that. All right, what's next?
Okay, let's have some unfun. Have you seen any ads from Democratic primary contenders recently? If you have, you probably haven't seen any Klobuchar ads or any Yang ads. You probably even haven't seen many Bernie or Warren ads. There's a very good chance you've seen two men's faces. That is Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer. And you wanna know why that is? That's because together they've spent nearly $200 million on television and digital advertising. More than double all of the other candidates for this entire campaign so far. And one of them, Mike Bloomberg, he hasn't been in the race for a month, but despite that, he's already spent $120 million in just 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That burn rate is rough right there.
So the article in the LA Times where they explained that Bernie Sanders had taken the lead in California, that was a momentous day. Now, if he loses the lead, then it turns out not to be momentous. But if he keeps the lead, and that was the day that he had seized it for the first time and passed Biden, that's a big news event, especially for the LA Times that covers California. They mentioned Mike Bloomberg more than they mentioned Bernie Sanders. And they kept going back. Every other paragraph was like, and then how does this affect Mike Bloomberg? And at the time, Mike Bloomberg was polling at 0 or 1%. Who gives a damn how it affects Bloomberg? The LA Times does. And all of television does. Why? They have 120 million reasons to care about Mike Bloomberg. Why are they all obsessed with a guy who has no popularity? According to the polling, by a 2-to-1 ratio, Democrats say they will not vote for him under any circumstance. Okay, he's trying to buy himself up to a 5% popularity rating, but the media is obsessed. Bloomberg, how's Bloomberg going to affect things?
Yeah.
Well, part of it is because they love Bloomberg, because they all have the same groupthink. Oh, billionaires should rule us all, and money should rule us all. Of course, Bloomberg, that's a real guy, not Bernie. He represents poor and middle class people. What are we, journalists? We would look out for them? We look out for the billionaires. But the bigger reason is he spends so much money in media that they're like, yes, that guy, wow, what a wonderful, fascinating character.
Can I tell you how much money? So $120 million so far in 3 weeks, but projecting forward, talking about financial incentives. So if he keeps this pace, and he's got the money to, by March 3rd, he'll have spent $357 million on TV ads. By April 28th, when New Yorkers, his state, when they finally go to the polls, he'll have spent $561 million. And people will take him seriously, even though he has no chance. That's not a photo, that's video. He has no charisma, he's barely moving. I'm kidding, it is actually a photo. But no, he doesn't have any, he's at 2%, 1% in the polls, but he is swamping everyone else. To put it in perspective, the next highest spender after Bloomberg and Steyer is Pete Buttigieg, who has spent $19 million so far. $19 million overall in these early contests. Bloomberg has spent $13 million in California. That's way off already. He spent $13 million in Florida. That's way off. And yet in those other states on the coast, he's swamping the number 4 guy in Iowa, basically, where Buttigieg has spent the vast majority of his money. I don't know why he's focusing so much on Iowa. There must be some reason demographically, but he certainly is.
We New Yorkers are old enough to remember a magical year when Mike Bloomberg bought another mayoral term the same year the Yankees bought another World Series. And he has calculated that he can spend all this money because A, he's got $42 billion, B, he's got name recognition, C, he's as moderate as it's gonna get. And to me, watching this, so much of the field is now a reality show called Moderate Alternative to Biden Idol. Who do they think that's not Warren or Sanders that they can turn to once Biden falters? So I understand why he's doing this, but Bloomberg, if he's trying to avoid Elizabeth Warren charging him higher taxes, he's paying a lot more now, and he could have just gotten rid of stop and frisk when he was still mayor and not be trying so hard to deal with the black Democratic vote that will never accept him. On the bright side, the commercials look great. He outsourced the editing to this great kids sweatshop in Thailand. They do fabulous work.
Okay, so John, I do want to correct you on 2 things.
Please
First
do.
of all, his fortune is now up to $54 billion.
Since we started this show?
Maybe, but no, seriously, in the latest series of articles, they explain his wealth is at now $54 billion.
Oh my.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor.
And so if you think about that in that context, so even if he gets to those monstrous numbers that John is talking about, $561 million, So what? That's $500 million. He would have 53.5 left. What difference would it make? It would make no difference at all. He could spend $5 billion on it. He could spend 10x of that, $5 billion of it, and it wouldn't dent him at all.
He could if he spent $5 billion to buy Fox News, or if he put $1 billion into advertising for the Right to Life Party in 6 swing states. $1 billion into the Right to Life. How many Christians only voted for Trump because they're single issue voters? And we've convinced Christians to vote against everything Christ talked about by talking about abortion, which Christ never freaking talked about. If people realized there was a Right to Life party and they had a place to put their vote that wasn't for Caligula, Bloomberg could pour $1 billion in 6 states into that little outfit and change the election.
I know, but that wouldn't feed his ego, would it?
No, it wouldn't. So, only help the country.
And there's also one other thing I wanted to correct you on. You mentioned, well, if you just kept this money, you wouldn't have to worry about what Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders are going to do to your tax rate. Actually, that's not really true. Because if you think about it, Warren's wealth tax, once you take Medicare for All into account, is at 6%, and that's every year. That's way more than the $500 million that he's projected to spend. True. So he thinks if I buy myself the presidency, why do I need middlemen? Before they were like, oh, let's get a middleman, let's get Buttigieg or Biden, and he'll do whatever the hell we tell him to do because he's our errand boy, right? But Bloomberg's like, why don't I just buy it? Well, I'll just take it myself, and then I'll give myself a tax cut, and then I'll pretend to be progressive in other things, and I'll say, sure, I care about the environment, I care about guns. Okay, now give me the money. Give me the money, okay? Whatever you do, don't touch my money, Warren and Sanders, okay?
They're coming to take your sugary drinks. They're coming, for my cold dead hands, you'll get my Slurpee. For my cold dead hands, Bloomberg.
So if they can find a way to defeat Sanders or Warren, is it going to be worth the $500 million that Bloomberg's gonna spend? Yeah, financially, definitely worth it for him. It's actually a good investment as a business person. Let me make sure that the middle class doesn't get what they want and the rich keep everything. And you know what his nuclear option is. So, and the rest of the press won't acknowledge it because he keeps, in essence, bribing them by putting so much money into it. Now that's not technically, I don't think that that's fair to call that a bribe, but he's buying positive coverage.
The bias is ratings. The only bias is ratings.
And so, look, just to finish the thought, since he's giving them all that money, they're not acknowledging the elephant in the room, which is the only way he actually affects the election is if he runs as an independent and then spends another $500 million or $1 billion making sure that Bernie Sanders doesn't win. So, and then hands the election to Donald Trump so he can keep his goddamn money. So that's the elephant in the room. That's the only reason Bloomberg's relevant. Steyer, I would be shocked if he did that, okay? And so they're both billionaires, they're both spending a ton of money, but policy matters, issues matter, people matter. It's not, oh, we're against them because they're both billionaires. Steyer actually has done some good in the world, and I would be absolutely devastated if he ran as a third party guy. I don't think he would, I don't think that's who he is. Bloomberg, jury's out. A guy who systematically targeted and abused minorities, full well knowing exactly what he was doing, stuffing them into prisons in a completely ineffectual stop and frisk. You think he's got some sort of moral compunction about betraying Democrats and progressives for his own money? No way.
He hates Trump too much. He hates Trump more than he likes anything else.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know. You're sure he hates Trump more than he hates Bernie Sanders?
All I know is,
I'm not sure.
I was here a few months ago. We were all talking about, hey, which woman running for president do you like the most? And now everyone's talking, hey, which white male billionaire running for president do you like the most? What happened in 3 months?
$120 million from Bloomberg and $84 million from Steyer's. What happened?
Bada bing.
Yeah. Imagine what sort of like left media infrastructure you could have built with that money.
Oh yeah, but anyway, they don't want.
No, of course they don't want to.
Wrong table. Wrong table.
Yeah, they love to talk about how we're backed by billionaires. Anyway, okay, let's launch into one other topic. We only have a few minutes left. Over at CNBC, there was this article that we saw by a writer named Jake Novak with a little bit of what he is laying out, truths that Democrats need to accept if they want to have any chance of beating Donald Trump in 2020. So we're gonna quickly run through those truths and perhaps we can come up with some truths of our own. We'll see if we agree with these. So Jake Novak's truth number 1, Trump didn't steal the 2016 election. He won the White House fair and square. Stop complaining about a million different things or whatever. Truth number 2, the economy is doing well even for the little guy. And you know that you're concerned about the economic well-being of the working class when you still refer to them as the little guy. And then number 3 is stop denigrating the voters. So basically, admit that Trump is great for literally everyone in the economy and hasn't done anything wrong, and be really nice to his voters. And they presumably will be nice to you. So those are what CNBC is labeling as 3 truths that Democrats need to accept to have any chance. I think we do think there are some things the eventual candidate needs to understand. I'm not sure that those are them.
So I love the title. Democrats need to accept these 3 truths to beat Trump in 2020. So the idea is you have to accept that Donald Trump has an awesome economy and you should kiss the ass of his voters so you can beat Trump. Oh, thank you so much for the advice. I really appreciate it. It sounds like you're looking out for us. And so this looks so earnest. CNBC and this dude, who was, by the way, earlier a producer on CNBC, driving the stock market machine and catering to all the advertisers who are top companies that have gained through the massive trillions of dollars in tax cuts that Trump gave you. Well, you're telling me your earnest advice is to agree with Trump and that's the best way to beat him? Oh, golly gee, wow. I'm gonna take that under advisement. Okay, this is the kind of stuff Claire McCaskill and Joe Donnelly would do right before they lost.
It reminds me of, I don't remember the exact person, but Meghan McCain likes to occasionally give advice to Democrats. And she said at one point, if they want to have any chance of getting Republicans like me to vote for them, they should put up this candidate. I don't remember, I'll say Howard Schultz. I don't know for sure who it was. And then the person next to her asked follow-up questions, so would you vote for them then? She was like, no, never.
Nice.
Why are you offering advice if it's so fake? But anyway, look, I do think there are some things that the eventual candidate should accept. I think that if we have the right candidate, we don't need to worry. If it's Bernie Sanders, I think he'll get all of this. But if it ends up being Buttigieg or something like that, or if it's Biden, I know that everyone on cable news thinks, oh, it's gonna be a slam dunk. He's gonna rope-a-dope him around the debate stage and have no problem. But there are a lot of people on TV that seem to think that, like, Hillary sort of technically won somehow. There was just something that sort of messed with it. Nothing fundamentally needs to change. You can't criticize the way that she campaigned, the states that she focused on, the states that she didn't, the fact that she wasn't really giving people much of a positive agenda to vote for. I think that if we end up with another candidate who either largely agrees with that agenda and strategy, or at least wants you to think that they do during that, if it's Biden or if it's Buttigieg and they run in the same way, that is going to be a complete debacle.
Well, karma plays a long game. Trump cheated in the 2016 election. Don't say steal, he cheated. Voter ID laws are cheating. Gerrymandering is cheating. Using stolen, hacked emails is cheating. He's being impeached because he got caught cheating in the next election. The economy is doing well. Well, our economy is like a reality show. Food, medicine, rent, pick 2. 69% of us have under $1,000 in savings. And also ask Trump supporters, name one Obama trend economically that Trump didn't just continue, that he actually reversed. And finally, denigrating the voters. This is 27% of us. 46% stayed home. Apathy won in 2016. Trump came in 3rd. It's not denigrating to say to them, every Trump supporter, you're a better person than Donald Trump. You haven't stolen from vets. You don't brag about committing sexual assault. Hillary Clinton said a subset of his supporters are deplorable. She was right, they're racists. We know they are, they don't care. A positive message for Democrats is saying, you deserve better than this liar. How's Mexico paying for the wall? He lied to you about everything, and the average Trump supporter is a better human being than Donald Trump. It's a stronger message, but these are all rubbish, and it's meant for a guy at CNBC to feel better about himself, secretly rooting for Trump.
Of course. So, but let's do nuance. So there are folks and a bunch of reporters and other folks on social media, even today on my account on Twitter, saying, "Oh no, but Hillary Clinton won. She won the popular vote." I've heard that a million times. Is she president? I wish she was. I voted for her. I told you guys to vote for her. Yeah. I think Donald Trump is a monster. I told you, and I was right about
Bernie
that.
voted for her.
Yes, and Bernie endorsed her. Did 39 different events for her, right? Rallies for her. So, but she's not the president. Wakey, wakey. So to John's point, okay, so you want us to pick someone just like Hillary Clinton because you'd like to have the moral high ground when Donald Trump wins his 2nd presidency? Yes, but by other metrics, Joe Biden won. No, I just want someone to win, to actually be president. And so, but the press, again in unison, lies to you about a fundamental fact. They say if you pick someone like Hillary Clinton, they will have a better chance of beating Donald Trump. Just look at that sentence. How could that possibly be true? Hillary Clinton isn't president. But they tell you, no, Joe Biden, he's very electable. It totally agrees with Hillary Clinton. Almost every position is the same or more conservative than Hillary Clinton. So obviously you should pick him because remember how Hillary Clinton won and is the president? He isn't the president. So no, you've got to pick a populist. You've got to pick someone who the middle class can actually root for and be energized by, not a guy who says nothing will fundamentally change. That's exactly what Hillary Clinton said. So they lost to a buffoon. And they said, don't worry, let's make the same exact mistake. No deal. Now, lastly, on Donald Trump's voters, look, I agree with John, the other John, 100% that I actually think the best thing Hillary Clinton ever said was the deplorable line.
Yeah.
And no one ever says it accurately. She said half of them are deplorables and half are not. And that is true. Half of them are totally beyond redemption. What are you going to do? You're going to Klobuchar them into voting for Democrats?
And that's 1/8 of America. We're only 1/8.
That's right. And those guys who hated that Obama was black, and I can go on and on and on. Yes, they are deplorable, and you're not going to win them over, you schmucks. Oh yeah. You know what? They're deeply racist and they hate Muslims and Latinos. That's why they'll vote for Biden. They're not gonna vote for Biden. They got their dream guy in Donald Trump. But the other half are what I called back then, and I was, again, sorry, but I was right. And why do I tell you that now? Don't make the same goddamn mistake. Oh, Jake, you don't know anything. You were totally right. That's why we shouldn't listen to you this time. Anyway, so they're brick voters. They hate the establishment. So they picked up a brick and they threw it through the establishment window. That orange brick was named Donald Trump. I mean, you can't find a better brick. Total agent of chaos. Right? Let me just mess people up, just for the sake of messing them up. Just send in this cyclone and see what kind of damage you can do, because that's how much I despise the establishment, is what a big chunk of voters told you. And instead of listening to that, going, oh, maybe they don't like us. Maybe they don't like the establishment. Maybe we should go populist, but actual populist that actually helps the people. Nope. Not one person in media says that, in the mainstream media. You know why? Because they are the establishment. And they don't want to admit to themselves that people don't like them. 77% of Americans in the last poll said the media is fake news. 77%. And so, nope. I hear no evil, I see no evil. The establishment is wonderful, we are beloved. Let's pick someone out of our country club just like we did last time. And then we'll get to say later it was the Russians, it was Comey, and we'll feel great about ourselves. And besides, what difference does it make? Because we all just got tax cuts.
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, you're exactly right. Biden is in the lead right now because he won all these polls. But if Hillary Clinton had had Bernie Sanders as her running mate, instead of a very nice guy, no one remembers his name, we'd be sitting around complaining about what an incrementalist, corporatist president she was right now, and we'd still be in the Paris Accord. We'd still have the Iran nuclear deal. We wouldn't be putting Scott Baio on the Supreme Court. I mean, if you don't have a rock star candidate, you have to have rock star ideas. It's all about getting the turnout. 46% stayed home. I don't know what Donald Trump can do to make that many people stay home next time. But at the end of the day, man, the worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump is a second term. Because my biggest fear, if John Kerry had gotten the White House in 2004, he would have caught that recession, taken all the blame, and we would have gotten a Ted Cruz in 2008 instead of Obama. I don't root for a recession. I'm with you. I don't want the economy to turn, but we know the way it's going. And people have to intervene right now, and it's not going to be gradual improvement that's going to save us. The entire system has to be unrigged. And that's a message that can really resonate with conservative brothers and sisters. They've never heard Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren break down how they're being ripped off. And they just voted for a guy with a golden toilet to stick it to the man.
Exactly right. All right, everybody check out John Fugelsang's show on Sirius every night. And John Idarola's got Damage Report, and you can get that if you sign up for membership too. tyt.com/John is a good way to do that. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Nice to see you both. Happy New Year to both.
Wonderful to see you guys. All right, we'll be right back with another powerful hour. Cenk Ugranik is sparing with you guys, ready for a rock and roll show.
We've never played instruments before, but we're gonna try for the first time right now.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Jesus would come back and be like, no, I'm done with all the banks. And he said, now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy, they're coming to get me.
not about fighting amongst each other. It's about making sure we correct the political system so our government works for us and our representatives actually represent us. And unfortunately, not a lot of the rest of the media even understands that concept, but we do here.
You can't be pro-life and pro the death penalty.
They're afraid to do it because they're stuck in this, this lie. The Republicans are great with money in the economy, and then they don't spend all your money and take it from you. It's exactly what they do. Just say it.
Okay, we're about to have some fun on the show. Strap on. That's not a thing. She's gonna fall one of these days. One of these days she's gonna fall.
Okay. All right, we gotta do the story. This country is not run by the people for the people. It's run by corporations. It's run by weapons manufacturers. It's run by private military contractors.
We've been telling you that people care about policy, and people on TV, they're like, no, everybody just cares about gloss and shine and whether you're rolling up your sleeves well. But what's more impressive is policy, and that you should make equal note of that, and you most certainly have not.
The Monsanto Corporation continues to sell a herbicide called Roundup, but you should know that that herbicide is a potential killer. Recent studies have linked Roundup to significant increases in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's a cancer that can be devastating to you and the people you love. While Roundup continues to cause cancer, Monsanto continues to make huge profits from the sale of Roundup. They will not take it off the market. If you or a loved one are exposed to Roundup at work or home and then developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you may be entitled to financial compensation. And it's important for you to take action now and hold Monsanto accountable.
Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad. Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world. We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If fill and host beat CNN and headline news combined, at some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, you won't believe the meeting that I just had.
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
They want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Drop it. All right, look at this. Brooke Thomas, Aida Rodriguez. Okay, excellent power panel, power hour. So let's do it. I'm just gonna read a couple here. You guys sent in too many good comments. This is the members, tyt.com/join. The hippie shake, for those who want it, writes in. Can't wait to watch Hostmates tonight, but clearly the intentional omission of Michael and Ben reeks of Cenk's fear of his title defense. My money is on, he said, #Jesus, as in Jesus.
First of all, Ben stood us all up last year, okay?
I know. Yeah, trust me, it ain't us. I would love to have them back.
He sent us a video, which was great because his daughter is kind of awesome in that little cameo in it.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Not Me Us writes in this controversial but interesting comment. After watching The Irishman, I have a whole new understanding of money in politics. It's so weird that big labor funded Nixon, who basically launched Fox News with Roger Ailes. Unions members are not at all the problem. Some union leaders, okay. It's been a long time that's been an issue. Anyway, Real Now What Then Zen writes in on Twitter. Cenk, I think the show would be better if you were a little bit more free with your emotions.
I see what you did there.
Yes, well, I appreciate that. Etoine Quat, AKA Steve the Socialist OG Cody writes in, Flint's water could be fixed for $55 million. Just saying, if billionaires really wanted to help, they could. So 55 million is less than half of what Bloomberg has spent in media ads in the last 3 weeks alone. Could have fixed Flint water just like that. But man's got to run and protect his money, okay? And the last one's from YouTube Super Chat. By What Design says, Andrew Yang is going back on MSNBC tonight after being forced to boycott them for weeks. What do you think of Andrew calling out MSNBC and then news media in general during the last debate? I loved it. If they don't call him out, nobody's ever gonna pay attention. Republicans call out the media 24/7, they're not even right. So it's way past time the progressives and outsiders like Andrew called out the media. I love it when he did that. And guess what? They responded and now he's back. That's how hardball works. All right, Brooke.
All right, let's do it. So we are used to the president kind of using social media, Twitter specifically, to, in a way, I think that endangers many lives. And yesterday, he focused all of that energy on one person, the alleged whistleblower. Okay, Trump's personal Twitter account, this is at Real Donald Trump, it retweeted a post by the re-election campaign's official War Room account that was aimed at the whistleblower's attorney, Mark Zaid. It's pretty simple. The CIA whistleblower is not a real whistleblower. That's what the tweet read, but also it included a link to an article that has the alleged whistleblower's name in the headline. The Daily Beast has been reporting that Trump had gossiped for weeks about this alleged whistleblower with various friends, media figures, senior administration officials, and it asked some people if they thought it was a good idea for him to publicly announce or tweet the name. Of course, logic says no, it's not. And those people also said no, it's not a good idea, reminding him that it's counterproductive, it's unnecessary. But not just that, also this, as the Washington Post noted 1 day before this tweet, the CIA analyst who triggered the impeachment inquiry does continue to work on issues relating to Russia and Ukraine. But when threats against him spike, often seemingly spurred by presidential tweets, he is driven to and from work by armed security officers.
So this story has a bunch of fun elements. Kidding, not at all fun. But my favorite is Ivanka Trump and White House counsel Pat Cipollone basically letting the press know, hey, we try to control the idiot, but he won't listen.
Right.
So when he does eventually blab about the whistleblower, which is inevitable, because my client is too stupid, my dad is too stupid, in essence what they're saying. Remember, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. The smart people in the White House told him, hey, you're not supposed to out whistleblowers. That's the whole point of whistleblowers, that we're supposed to protect them because they're blowing the whistle on something wrong that happened in the government. If the government then turns around and punishes them, it defeats the whole point of having whistleblower protections. But Donald Trump, it's not that he's too stupid to understand that, although that's certainly true. He just actively doesn't like rats, and he's called them rats in the past. Why? Because he's a criminal. So he thinks that honest people who work with law enforcement are rats and snitches. And he even once said in an interview that maybe it should be illegal to work with law enforcement. Gee, I wonder if he's a criminal, I can't quite tell. Yet we're having debates about this? No. And I'll get back to the unimportance of the whistleblower in a second.
Well, I mean, you just said what I was thinking. He is a thug, everything about him, he always takes it to this street justice. What baffles me is the people who liken him to Jesus and compare him to the religious journey of a man who was supposed to be good and do good things for people, all people. I'm so confused at the people who still defend him, and it just lets me know how many people in this country are complicit with crime. And even though they speak on behalf of Christianity, they're okay with wrongdoing and they're okay with this street justice. And he's been doing this from the beginning, right? He's been handling the White House like it is a sewer.
Yeah.
And then people have been standing blindly behind him saying that what he is doing needs to be done. But they don't realize that when that water washes out, it's washing out to their neighborhoods and to them. And we will pay the ultimate price for having an illegal in the White House.
Just like what you were saying, like he's not stupid. This is that he is smart enough to know that this puts people in danger. He knows what he's doing, and it's just not a coincidence that the day after a report noting that this man still works for the CIA, and that it gets increasingly like it's dangerous once the president tweets about him.
It goes deep.
All these federal funds have to be spent to protect him.
Yeah.
After the president tweets about him, he tweets his name. He's like, okay, great, I'm gonna go a step further, see what you gotta do.
He
then.
goes deep. That's why he has to. People sit around saying, what does he have on Lindsey Graham? Something. He does dirty business. He has a vault. He is handling this like New Jack City. This is not the White House anymore. That's like the hood, yo.
Could you imagine if Obama said maybe you shouldn't work with law enforcement, people who do are rats?
Yes.
Oh, they would have said he was a thug, a gangster. They would have said everything in the, oh yeah, of course, Barack Obama would say that, right? Their guy says it and they're like, oh yeah, bravo, of course, we hate law enforcement. Everybody hates law enforcement, right? You shouldn't work with law enforcement. That's what good Republicans would say.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
They don't like law enforcement until they shoot black people, and then they're pro law enforcement.
Yeah.
It's only when it's beneficial.
Like at this point, the like comparisons to like, can you imagine if Obama did this? We can't. It's not even like we can't even joke about it anymore because they're all so far like Obama is just not a monster.
I thought Blue
like you know what I mean? Like it's just so far beyond what they actually complained about. They didn't even have serious complaints, and there are things that you can be upset about.
No, but that's why it goes to prove that racism's so over the top because Obama's a gentleman. I think he's too much of a gentleman.
Yeah.
Like my critique of him is, my God, get in the fight, right?
That's right.
And Trump is this thuggish monster that it's been doing lifelong criminality, one scam after another. He had to pay for Trump University and his own charity. They're both scams. He had to settle and give out millions of dollars in fines. He's like, yeah, I'm a scam artist. I didn't finish it.
You didn't.
Okay, I'm a fun scam artist, okay, etc. And so, but they say things about Obama based on his skin color, and they don't about Trump based on his skin color. And it has nothing to do with what they've actually done.
Right.
It has to do with an artificial characteristic. And those are the Republicans I'm referring to. Okay, last two things. It's also potentially a crime to do witness intimidation and obstruction of justice. In fact, that's one of the things that he's being impeached for is obstruction, right? And then he goes on Twitter and does it in front of the whole country. And lastly, the whistleblower is irrelevant. He's the guy who called 911. Mm-hmm. Then we had 17 witnesses go and testify in the House. If it was just pick any crime, like let's say there was a robbery and a guy calls 911 and says there was a robbery. And then in the trial, they bring in 17 witnesses say, yeah, I saw the robbery and it was that guy. I saw the robbery and it was that guy with the orange hair, right? And then the guy takes a stand in his own defense, goes, yeah, but I don't like the guy who called 911.
Yep.
That's not a defense.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense at all. But why is he so obsessed with not the 17 witnesses, but the guy who called 911? Because he hates rats. And he thinks the whistleblower ratted him out.
Yep.
I think we're gonna go to break.
All right, break it is. Whew, got more passion when we return.
People work hard for what they have, and if you want more, you gotta do it yourself.
Stock stories bring headlines to life in an instant, whether you work on Wall Street or in Wichita. Stock report cards and professional analyst buy and sell ratings help gut check your thought process. Buy stock, take profits, and manage risk. And the Idea Feed is your daily one-stop investment shop with videos that unpack today's money-moving headlines in under 3 minutes because you need ideas, not lectures. And live in-app chat from when you want to talk to someone, but you don't actually want to talk.
So what'd you think?
With unlimited commission-free stock trades and great ideas from real traders. Visit dough.com/TYT.
People still don't know what the word feminist actually means. Not even that, people are still angered by the word.
People think feminist is a bad word, but it's not.
There are gradations, there are different waves. The people who are against gender equality love to use like militant feminists as the representatives of all feminists. It's untrue.
I don't know why you'd be threatened by strong women unless you were an incredibly weak man. If you don't have equal rights, or you're not treated the same way, well, wouldn't you be angry?
The Monsanto Corporation continues to sell a herbicide called Roundup, but you should know that that herbicide is a potential killer. Recent studies have linked Roundup to significant increases in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's a cancer that can be devastating to you and the people you love. While Roundup continues to cause cancer, Monsanto continues to make huge profits from the sale of Roundup. They will not take it off the market. If you or a loved one are exposed to Roundup at work or home and then developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you may be entitled to financial compensation, and it's important for you to take action now and hold Monsanto accountable.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy.
Cenk is oddly, scarily competitive.
Oh, it's insane. I play basketball against him. It's just like, how are you good at this?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Idarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
The Hour of Fire is brought to you by Brooke, and Brooke.
Yes, Brooke's got it.
Okay.
Take it.
All
you
right.
guys know I really like compliments.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
All right, so that's it. We will settle it.
I want to see this.
Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't. Scandal at TYT.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips. All right, back on the Young Turks. Stephen Faulkner writes in, what soap can I use to get Bloomberg out of my eyes? Okay, I wouldn't suggest it, but I hear you. This is all members. Steven Scale says, Aida Rodriguez and Hostmates in the same day? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, thank you, Steven. So right after this show at 5:05 is the second edition of Hostmates. That's for the members, sorry, that one's just members. TYT.com/join to become a member and check it out. Anna and I try to defend our title. Were we successful? I'll put it this way, it was a thriller, okay? So check it out, I think
John
you'll
and
love
I
it.
try to answer 2 questions right this year.
Don't give away last year either, in case you haven't seen it, okay? All right, and then last one here is, a couple people asked this in different variations, but Progressive Gojira writes in on Twitter, isn't it also illegal to out the whistleblower, possibly even a felony? Could Trump be impeached again for this? Guys, yes, so, but he's committed now half a dozen crimes, easily provable, right? The question isn't whether he's committing crimes. The question is anything ever going to be done about it? So that's where we are. So yes, that would be another thing that you could impeach him on. But will they? Very unlikely. All right, what's next?
Next up, One of the nation's largest school systems, school districts actually, is encouraging activism and getting involved at a young age in a way that I don't think we've ever seen before, and conservatives hate it. Starting January 27th, Fairfax County Public Schools in Northern Virginia, they're gonna permit students in 7th through 12th grades 1 excused absence each school year for it's a loosely defined civic engagement activities. The school board member who introduced the policy, Ryan McElveen, says it could mean marches, sit-ins, or going to the state capitol. But that school board member actually has already faced some backlash online from conservative critics who charge the policy is the latest instance of the left coddling its too liberal, too sensitive youth. A nearby school district in Maryland actually also tried to do this last year, but they got hundreds of emails, letters from self-identified conservatives complaining, one could call it protesting. At one point, the school board member who proposed the policy in Maryland was invited to discuss excused absences for student protesters on Laura Ingram's show. It's just that serious. And also, like, I guess you could go to a Klan rally if you wanted to.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I was gonna say, which is like conservatives say, oh, like you can go and do civic engagement. It must be a liberal program. Why can't you do civic engagement? Right, so I mean, you can go to a hate rally or whatever if you want, if you're a conservative, or like God forbid you do something good in the world. Like you could be like, hey, this is conservatives to feed the homeless, and we're taking the day off, and we're bringing all of our kids. By the way, there are conservatives that do feed the homeless, believe it or not. It does exist, okay? So why not do that? So, oh, great, what a wonderful thing that the school did that I can teach my kids. Let's go do this, or whatever you want. Why does it have to be just for progressives? It isn't just for progressives, but they think civic engagement,
right?
Like the kids voicing their opinions, freedom of speech, we hate that. Wait a minute, I thought the right wing complained all day, all night online about how they don't have enough freedom of speech. Now when the students are encouraged to speak out, they're like, oh, don't do that, bottle them up, shush, shush, they might be opposed to us, shush, no freedom of speech.
I don't
Ironic.
know. Wait a minute, Jake. I don't know if you watched The Handmaid's Tale, but
oh my God, where's this
which
going?
is where we're headed. On that show, women and children are property and don't have the right to speak up. And in the conservative realm, it is the men, the straight white men who have all the voice and are the ones that are supposed to be speaking up on behalf of us all, without any regard to our needs. What I think is really interesting about this is that being liberal and progressive has become synonymous with fighting for the rights of others who do not have rights according to white supremacy. Like that's become synonymous. The fact that you want to fight for the rights of LGBTQIA plus people, Black Lives Matter, the children in the cages, that has now become synonymous for conservatives with liberalism. So what train of thought is that you guys wanting to have a voice and a seat at the table is radical thinking? That is the epitome of privilege to me. And it's just so sad because these are the people who are always talking about the Constitution. They fight for the Constitution. They show their guns on Instagram on behalf of the Constitution. And here you are teaching children to exercise their constitutional rights. And it is liberalism and being a snowflake. And listen, let's not be fooled that we don't have issues with liberals and them being extreme in their own right. But this ain't it. This ain't it, bro. Like, this ain't it. The fact that these children, people like that come from the communities that I come from, need to know that these are our rights because we are taught that we don't have rights. And then we rebel and we act out, and then people say, look how they act. Look how they act. It was this man, this conservative, I forgot his name, Jock, who tweeted a picture of these young Black men fighting and said, until we are able to discuss young Black men being violent in numbers without being called racist, we will not alleviate these issues. And it was like, that is the thinking. Nobody goes beyond what causes those things. And it's the fact that we don't talk about white supremacy like it's real or institutionalized oppression. We talk about it like it's, oh, here we go again. Slavery ended 400 years ago. I always go back to these issues because when you hear stuff like this happening, It is usually the marginalized that suffers the greatest price. Because when you have privilege, you're probably not gonna get arrested for protesting. But when Black Lives Matter does, they get beat up, they get tear gas. So I have to speak up on behalf of the marginalized, because those are the people that suffer the most at the hands of this foolishness.
Hear, hear.
Right, there's nothing else to say,
Yeah,
right?
that's 100% right.
All right, let's move on to our next story. But can I just start it though by saying that the customer is never right. The customer is never right, and I feel like that is just something we should all accept. And that's, you know what I mean? Like that's how it should be from now on. The customer is never right. You know those Disney characters walking around at Disneyland, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse. It turns out people touch them inappropriately at the park. So much so that just this month, 3 of the employees dressed up in those costumes have had to file reports with law enforcement. In one case, a 36-year-old Disney employee who portrays Minnie Mouse posed for pictures with a man and his wife from Minnesota in the park's circus-themed meet and greet area. Afterward, Minnie Mouse gave the man a hug, then without saying a word, he groped her chest 3 times. That's according to the sheriff's incident report. That same man also had an inappropriate interaction with another cast member the day before. So came back to the park the next day to do this again at this children's park. A woman who works as Mickey Mouse at the Magic Kingdom went to the hospital because of a neck injury after a woman patted her on the costume head about 5 times. But so bad that it hurt her neck and she had to go to the hospital. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
So 2 out of 3 cases are strange,
right?
Okay, so I'll get to those in a second. But the guy, it's just sometimes guys are just hopeless, man. Like, what are you doing? I mean, first of all, what are you doing in any circumstance where you're groping women? There's no excuse for it ever, ever, ever. There's no justification for it. A Minnie Mouse outfit, what is wrong? Like, what is? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, so he sees the person in a Minnie Mouse outfit, and somehow, and you know what? That reminded me of it. I thought about when I read it. I was like, you see, when folks say it isn't about sex, it's about power. This is actually an excellent example of that. Because how could you? I don't know that if that's his fetish or whatever, right? But I doubt it. Although he has done it multiple times, apparently at other parks, right? But more likely, it's a power kick. Oh, there's nothing she could do about it, so I'm gonna do this, right? So just when you thought, like, is there any situation where people can't be monstrous to one another? Nope, apparently not. Now the 2 strange cases is that the lady who patted the person on the head, she was a grandma, and apparently that sprained the person's neck. I have no idea if it sprained it and didn't, or more importantly, it might have sprained the neck. Did the grandma intend it? The family says, no, grandma didn't intend it. I don't know, I have no idea, right? And the other person was a woman who groped another woman who was in one of the costumes.
But it was a Mickey Mouse, so she thought it was a man.
It was Donald Duck.
No, the Donald Duck one is the family, or some folks thought that lady, the older lady who groped the younger woman in the Donald Duck outfit, might have had dementia.
Right.
So that's just a different situation. So that's just unfortunate.
It has to be, because I've never ever looked at Goofy and said, ooh, Goofy fine. Look at Goofy over there. Goofy swinging them ears. Let me go grab on Goofy, because Goofy looking real good today. I don't.
Look at him.
Oh my God,
It's so ridiculous. I mean, like, you know what? I know this is going to sound extreme, but the case with the man who was with his wife that groped the women, it reminded me. I don't know why, because this is some extreme all the way on the other side, Sandusky, because his wife was in the house, and it's just women just standing by, being complicit, watching their men do inappropriate things to other women is very indicative of what type of relationship you're in. Because if I was out with my man and he groped Minnie Mouse,
we would be at that park the next day
we're
together.
having a conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm signing the report on behalf of Minnie Mouse, because that is inappropriate.
Exactly.
But the other thing I was gonna say is that there's a fundamental lack of respect for the people that do that, and we see it all the time. Like, you see people pushing them, shoving them. For some reason, they forget that those are human beings. And when children do it, you understand it, because children think those are characters. When adults do it, it just shows you that you're not a very good person, because you know that's a human being. You know that's a hard job to do when it's super hot. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you just take agency over somebody's body and think that it's cool because they're wearing a costume.
Yeah.
You need to get punched in the face.
Okay, well, it's call the authorities, but okay, so I don't condone that. So look, in terms of the folks who do that, there's something about a mask that it makes people react worse to one another. Whether you're the one wearing the mask or the one that is acting upon the person wearing the mask, it has some degree of anonymity, which allows us to dehumanize the person and act worse to them. And that's why Twitter is oftentimes a cesspool, because people are anonymous. So they feel like, I got a mask on, you don't know who I am, so I could be, as evil as I want, as mean as I want, as much of a jerk, I could try to tear you down and feel good about it. And so, look, man, you think those aren't tough jobs? Jeez, Lord mercy.
They don't get paid a lot of money either.
Yeah, they don't get paid a lot of money for a very, very tough job. Don't go around pushing them around and doing all this stuff. And to your point, Aida, you don't have to just be the woman in the relationship. You could also be guys who are friends with people, et cetera. Yes. And what do you do? You got to step in. You got to be a good person and say, what are you doing groping Minnie Mouse? What are you, mental, right? And then you write out the report. Say, no, I will not accept that. I will not accept it from anyone, even if they call themselves my friend or my relative or whatever it might be. Call people out. Not because you want to attack them, but because you want to protect the others.
Yeah,
I like that. Check your weird friend.
Yeah.
If you see something, say something, and maybe not punch them in the face, but shake them. No, and listen, I'm not an advocate of violence, but I think that those people reach their limits. Like, you don't understand. Like, if you have to hear about it, if it made this desk, that means it's a problem. So imagine having to suit up every day. You go there with the intention of making children happy, right? You're not getting paid that much money. And somebody decides on any given moment that they can just touch your body. That is not okay. Yeah. And that doesn't make us snowflakes. That makes us human beings. It's barbaric to think that you can behave that way.
Yeah, and guys know this. Everybody knows this, because they just don't want to acknowledge it. Or most, by the way, that's not fair to most guys. Most guys are perfectly good. They're not doing this. These are, a smaller percentage, but unfortunately, they do it so often that it affects a giant number of women. Okay, so you have to think about that too. So this guy in particular has done it to so many different Minnie Mouses, and extend that out as an analogy to the whole country. But for the ones that do it, they know it's wrong too, and they'll admit it if you say to them, oh yeah, you mind if another guy gropes you?
That's right.
Just comes up and starts groping every part you got. They'll be like, oh no, that's crazy, that's terrible. So why isn't it terrible when you do it to women? Of course you know it's terrible. Of course you know that. Yes, that was super easy. Law enforcement, there's no question about it.
And it's a problem. It's not just at Disneyland. Reporters, you see the video of the reporter getting groped. It's a problem. It's embedded in our culture, and we need to start identifying this. We need to start educating young men and women about this behavior, because it's toxic and it is abundant.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Okay, when we come back, we've got more for you guys. We'll be right back.
I've been a fan of TYT, I believe, for the last 6 years.
5 years.
3 years now. 7 years.
4 years now.
2.5 years. I just started because she got me into it.
My boyfriend actually watches it every morning and every night, so I kind of just started watching it with him.
Looking through YouTube, looking for political shows that look cool.
I came across a very angry rant from Cenk, and that's when I knew.
So I was immediately in love with the show.
And then I haven't missed a live show since then.
10 times a day, I watch the show in the morning.
Whenever I had a bad day at high school, Young Turks.
Man, Cenk is just so blunt and honest, and I love the honesty, and there's no BS behind the news, and they just tell everything like it is.
There's nobody censoring him. There's nobody there to say you can't do this, you can't say that.
I feel like I get the real story from the Young Turks.
I am TYT.
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 My name is Alexandra Jablonski, but I go by Alex. I don't know why I just said Alexandra. I got stuck with one of the hosts. I shouldn't say stuck. I work for one of the hosts for The Breakdown, which is Hassan Piker. And I also work on Mean Show a lot of the time as well. My favorite thing about TYT, I would definitely say the family unit aspect, I mean, I genuinely really like working here. Can I curse at all? No. Oh, okay.
The Monsanto Corporation continues to sell an herbicide called Roundup. You should know that recent studies have linked this commercial herbicide to a significant increase in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. A diagnosis of this type of cancer can be devastating to you and your family, while Monsanto continues to profit from these sales. If you or a loved one were exposed to Roundup at work or at home and then developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you might be entitled to financial compensation, and you have a right to take action now.
I'm here today to announce the program known as DACA is being rescinded.
We don't run our own country. We've lost our democracy, and all we have left is rage.
Where are the Democrats? I would be on every cable news channel screaming and yelling and talking about what the Republicans are doing right now.
How do you expect us to get excited to show up to the polls for these loser Democrats? How come we have nothing but cowards who'll never fight? Primaries are everything.
Building a great wall on the southern border.
You have politicians who fearmonger about disenfranchised groups.
The first attacker came through the visa lottery.
Now they are against legal immigrants.
Ending chain migration.
They don't want people from those countries coming here because they're fucking racist. This guy's an absolute monumental disgrace to all of us as Americans.
I ordered to launch precision strikes on targets.
That is what I was warning about for literally years on this program. This is what they promised they would do if they got into power, and what do you know? They did it.
I've now shown dozens of videos on the Young Turks of cops handcuffing people who are bleeding to death. His life means nothing. We have been trained to be cowards, so we're gonna handcuff that guy bleeding to death.
What does this law mean? These are all just basic BS coverings.
To every politician who is taking donations from the NRA, shame on you.
They said that this was impossible, but now we're beginning to move that boulder. And at the end, we'll get our democracy back. Primary the living hell out of these Democrats, and let's take over the party. That's a ghost ship. Let's board it, let's take it. All right, back on the Young Turks. A lot of you had good ideas for right-wing marches for the kids. Hammer Dan writes in, they could have a right-wing pro-carbon atmosphere rally in March. Oh. Okay, that's an idea. Progressive Todd says Republicans could run a seminar for youth on how to bribe or buy politicians. Another good idea. Terry Teeter, a teeter-totter German teacher, writes in, conservatives being afraid of kids show they know that they've lost the youth. Great point, I love that. And then Mickey C wrote in with a great comment. These are all our members, tyt.com/join. I was inspired to learn about politics at 11 by a fantastic teacher. She drew a line down the center of the blackboard and listed each of the candidates' policy proposals. Our homework was to watch the debates and read the newspapers. She gave no opinions. On the election day, the class voted. The winner in the class also won the election. It was JFK. I've been hooked ever since. So, God, I had a great poli-sci teacher in high school, John Calamano. He passed away recently. Just wonderful, wonderful person. Plant a seed. You never know what difference you can make, okay? And last one is just a fun one from Twitter. The Socialist Scotsman says, about to watch TYT on my new 55-inch TV. Consumerism, woot. Okay, that's one way to go. I like that you're watching us on the big screen though. You can do that obviously on all the platforms we're on. You got Pluto, Roku, Xumo, Comcast now, Xfinity, and so many others, YouTube TV. But also we have apps that put it on your TV as well. Lastly, two things, guys. Postmates is in 15 minutes, 20 minutes really, right after the show at 5:05 Pacific, 8:05 Eastern. For all the members, second edition of Postmates. You guys are absolutely gonna love it. tyt.com/join to become a member and get it. And then And then we're raising money for a climate reporter to expose how money in politics is affecting all the votes in Congress related to climate change and at the local level too. So in order to participate in that, tyt.com/climate. We would greatly appreciate it. We're almost at our goal. We're trying to get 200,000 by the end of the year. See if you can help us do that. That's amazing. Thank you guys. 168,409. Almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah, let's push to finish it up. All right, Brooke, what's next?
All right, so a major hospital system in Tennessee actually made huge changes after journalists with ProPublica called them out. Basically, it was an investigation into Methodist Lebanon and their aggressive debt collection practices, and it prompted the hospital to erase at least $11.9 million in debts owed by thousands of people. From 2014 through 2018, Methodist sued more than 8,300 people for unpaid hospital bills, including many people who were low income. The hospital is Memphis, Tennessee's largest, and it garnished hundreds of workers' paychecks, including those of its own employees. And I'll tell you more about that later, but basically the hospital started dropping lawsuits less than a week. They started dropping them from court dockets less than a week after the investigation was published. And by the end of July, the hospital had completed an internal review, pronounced itself humbled, and announced an overhaul of its policies, and then of course started to erase the debts.
So this whole system is brutal.
Yeah.
And so I talk to folks now all the time, and they say, well, I'm worried if I get sick, it's over. I lose my house, I lose everything. And they have insurance. So because sometimes deductibles are so high. And remember, John Fugelsang said it in the last hour, 69% of Americans don't have $1,000 saved up. So, I mean, if you got a deductible over $1,000, you're done, okay? You lose everything. So we're bankrupting people millions at a time through this brutal private insurance system and the hospital system and all of these things, and then we chase them down to the end of the earth to get the money. It's not just premiums and deductibles. There's co-pays. There's sometimes caps, lifetime caps. Well, there you go. You run into a lifetime cap, you're bankrupt, and that's if you're lucky enough to have insurance. If you don't have insurance in this country, it's just, I know it's unbelievable. For people that don't live in America, they literally cannot believe it. But if you don't have health insurance in this country and you can't get it because you're poor enough to get Medicaid or anything along those lines, or you're old enough to get Medicare, and you get cancer, we just let you die. Yep. We just let you die.
Yeah, they also have these other hustles. Like I went to the dentist not too long ago and I needed to get a crown. And they inflated prices, and then they'd suggest a credit card company that will cover the dental costs. But the interest rate on that credit card is so ridiculous. It's just another handcuff to put a person who doesn't have money in. And I was just sitting there like, you know, I have better sense than to take this. But you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's a hustle. But what I was gonna say is, this brings a new meaning to if you see something, say something. And this is what we need to be using journalism for. Yeah. And this is what we need to be using our voices for. Because through this one particular action, some poor people and some people who needed help got seen and got heard and got considered. And that's important.
Yeah, can I just double down on that? Because earlier in the show, I yelled at mainstream media journalists because they just discovered that maybe the Trump people might not be telling the truth. Okay, but as I told you then, I'm telling you, sometimes there's wonderful journalism, and that's what we want to encourage. That's a great thing. So ProPublica, great job, because this is how you bring justice in the world. You're supposed to, what's the saying? You're supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Yep. If you're a journalist. Unfortunately, a lot of the journalists in this country, a lot of the media in this country has reversed it. They defend the powerful and the elites, but there are still great journalists that do amazing work which brings truth and justice into the world and helps people.
Yeah, and to all the Christians out there, the Bible says, buy the truth and don't sell it.
I want to show you the different amounts that people owe, just a little bit about that. The smallest balance owed was 2 cents. The highest was more than $41,000, and that was actually owed by a couple who was sued in 2011 for more than $32,000, and that includes attorney fees and court costs. And this hospital bill was from Lebanon, Children's Hospital, so this was them taking their child to the hospital. the new policy, Methodist says they will no longer sue anyone, regardless of insurance status, whose household income is less than 250% of the federal poverty line, which means they were doing that. Like, that's absurd. And you noted something about, like, this is not even just people who don't have insurance, even if you work for Methodist, because Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare has sued many of its own employees over unpaid medical bills and garnishes their wages. Also, its healthcare plan prevents them from going to competitors with better financial assistance. So that's absurd. That's awful. This is a Christian hospital.
I met another guy recently, and he said that he was out trying to help progressives win. I said, why? He said, I need Medicare for all. I said, well, you look like you might already have Medicare. He said, oh, I do. But my wife, she went to the hospital, and they didn't. The insurance in the hospital didn't want her racking up bills, so they shoot her out of the hospital. Turns out she had internal bleeding. Oh, God. And then she died because they wanted to save money. Look, guys, there are some things that the private industry should run, sneakers, jeans, etc. There's other things that the government should run because our lives depend on it. So, fire departments. Can you imagine right now, because 45,000 people a year die because they don't have health insurance. Could you imagine if we had private fire insurance like we used to back in the day, and we said, oh, well, yeah, I know, but they didn't have fire insurance, so we let 45,000 people burn to death every year. That's in essence what we're doing when we don't have government doing health insurance, not the whole industry. And so, look, as we celebrate journalism here and getting a great result, don't let the mainstream media lie to you. If you get Medicare for all, everyone has insurance. And everyone has better insurance than the insurance they have now. Even one of the most conservative Democrats who hates Medicare for all acknowledged to me, it's on tape, said yes, Medicare for all gives you the Cadillac plan. He called it, quote, awesome insurance. He's worried about the cost, that's nonsense too. But you would have better insurance, no one could be denied. You can go to any doctor, any hospital. And it's not like, oh my God, how we're so magnanimous in America. No. Every developed country has single payer universal health care coverage that has a similar system. We're the only ones who don't. We're the only ones who are barbaric enough not to. And then when you run into financial troubles, then you have hospitals chasing you down and trying to ruin your life to get that money from you.
Yeah, and to those people that live in like those racist communities and are really scared that the Mexicans are coming to take your jobs, and you will bite your nose to spite your face. You got a better chance at getting cancer than having a run-in with those Mexicans. So you get your priorities right, because a lot of these people who are opposed to this are because they are allowing their racism to drive their car. And Donald Trump is stoking it daily. But you are hurting yourself and your well-being and the well-being of your family, because a lot of you people are not wealthy and you are struggling. But because you think that a Mexican is gonna come get you or a black person is gonna come get you, you are biting your nose to spite your face. You will eventually feel the wrath of all of the foolishness that this administration is trying to press down on you. You will feel it.
Absolutely.
All right, one more story?
One more story, let's do it. The Trump campaign has actually launched a website this week to help supporters win arguments with relatives during the holidays. It's just like, this is so embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. The campaign's national press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, actually said the goal was to arm Trump supporters for the holiday season. And they're serious about this. The site is snowflakevictory.com. Take a look.
No matter what the fake news tells you, nothing about Joe Biden withholding aid from Ukraine, unless the prosecutor who was looking into Burisma was fired, has been debunked. This is what the fake news does. Takes Democrat talking points and says, debunked, nothing to see here. Well, they're wrong, and here's why.
So it's full of lies and videos that arm you with lies. McEnany also says, we're not helping snowflakes avoid arguments, we're helping Trump supporters win them. As 2019 draws to a close and 2020 approaches, President Trump and Americans are going to be winning, 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 and then winning some more. This is so embarrassing. Just as Americans, this is so embarrassing.
You ever seen True Blood?
Yeah.
That reminds me. Listen, I'm gonna speak and be done because that just made my back hurt again. This is the greatest insult to those people. They insult your intelligence daily. Yeah. They think you are basic, programmable, and vapid. Listen to the stuff that they're saying to you, and this is what feeds you. And if you are consuming this, you need to go seek help. Because watching this right there, I'm like, is that real? This is coming from the highest office in the land. He thinks you guys are idiots. He's like, what do we feed the dummies today?
That's so true. They have videos to coach you on how to look stupid in front of your family members who read with comprehension skills.
So, a couple of fun parts of this story. So, first of all, I love they're like, we're gonna teach you how to win, and to win some more.
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah. All right. Let's note that the last poll out showed that 55% of the country thinks that Donald Trump should be impeached and removed from office. Only 40% think he should not be removed from office. Right now, 55 to 40. Does that sound like they're getting tired of winning? Yeah. Okay. It is. But I'll give them this, right? So any other president would be humiliated. 55 to 40, the country's saying get the hell out of office. Not when you get to the election. Right now, you are not welcome by a giant margin. They're saying, no, you're a criminal and you should be driven out of office. But they have no shame. So that's their defining characteristic. So they put out emails like, hey, we're winning, everybody. Let's win, right?
What's the point of winning the argument if you're losing your health care? You're losing what are you winning? That's the insult of them all is what are you winning? You're winning an argument over a turkey leg, but then you're not gonna be able to go to the doctor for the carcinogens that you're consuming. Like, what's the point of winning the argument? I'd rather lose the argument and give me my rights.
Are you guys, I'm not going to Thanksgiving with that. Like, I'm not even gonna be there for you to argue with. I'm going somewhere else.
So that's the second funny part that I love about this. Like, so they don't get that they're the idiot, toxic people we're trying to avoid, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, your snowflake relatives don't like it, man. But you know what? You just shove it in there, yeah. You go to Thanksgiving dinner and ruin it by making stupid arguments no one agrees with. Yeah, that'll show them. No, you don't get it. Everybody else at the dinner table is embarrassed because you're a loser. Yeah. You're a total buffoon. They're trying to have a nice family dinner and you're ruining with your dumbass talking points that you got from Kayleigh McEnany. You said, oh yeah, you know what? 55% of the country wanting him kicked out is winning. Yeah, I got you. All right, I'm like, who wants to go to dinner with that guy, right? So I got a great idea, okay? So why don't all of you, and by the way, just one more thing before I get to my idea. They call it snowflakevictory.com because we're the snowflakes. Is there anything that Donald Trump hasn't reacted with, like as a snowflake to? Like, hey, Donald, I don't think that your grammar was correct. How dare you, witch hunt, hoax! Oh my God, everybody's come out there, they're gonna get me, oh, they're gonna get me, the deep state, the witch hunt, the hoax, right? You worship the snowflake in chief. Okay, anyway, my idea is, why don't you all leave us alone, okay? Just get out of like our dinners and just go have a dinner by yourselves. You guys will love it. You guys will own each other. You'll live rent free inside your own heads, okay? And there'll be no snowflakes, and you get to fight each other. It'll be great. Maybe like move to an island, right? And you'll have the best Thanksgivings yelling at each other. It'll be fantastic.
Call them winning dinners. Winning dinners.
That's right. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Like if you have to study a website to prepare for, like just don't go. Why are you going?
I know.
You know what I mean?
Who prepares to fight their family before they go to Christmas?
Right.
These guys.
That your whole family is not idiotic.
Yeah, that's right. Apparently, their family doesn't agree with them either.
Right, exactly.
All right, guys. Ridiculous. Thank you, Aida and Brooke. You guys are amazing. You're gonna see Brooke again in a second. Postmates is coming up, so stay right here. TYT.com/join to watch. Got to be a member to watch that, and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.